everyone, my name is Olivia and welcome to a cozy fall vlog. I was actually planning on vlogging a lot more during autumn time, but October was like truly the worst month of my entire life and I just could not film a lot of content during October. But now that it's November, I wanted to start fresh, start some new habits, get back into vlogging because I really enjoy sharing what I'm currently reading, what I'm currently watching, and I have a lot of different activities planned for this week, so I think I'm just going to vlog until I don't feel like vlogging anymore. Tomorrow I have a TV series screening right before my Cinebun Club screening. My Cinebun Club is my monthly movie club over on my Discord. Anyone is free to join. I pick a selection of movies based on a specific theme, and I let the members vote on which movie they want to see. So we are going to be watching Lost in Translation. This is my first time seeing the movie, and there are a lot of first time watches for me in the Cinebun Club, which is really fun because I get exposed to movies that I've been meaning to watch for the longest amount of time, and I finally get to see it with a bunch of different members, and it's a really fun, cozy, chaotic time. We get to talk with each other live in the chat beside the movie, and it's just a really fun way to enter a club that feels very low effort. It's a lot more low effort than a book club because you just show up the day of the screening, watch a great movie, and then we get to discuss and share our thoughts. So that is on Thursday. On Friday, I'm going to a friend's birthday party, which I'm really excited about. On Saturday, I got invited by Vintage Anchor Books to go watch Conclave with my best friend, and that will be my second time watching Conclave, so I'll be sure to share my thoughts all about that film when we see it on Saturday because I truly love Conclave. But for now, I wanted to share what I'm currently reading, and I also got a package in the mail that is related to the TV series screening that I'm watching tomorrow. So many different screenings. I'm really so excited to be so involved with TV and film lately. I really wanted to get more involved in that industry, and to see it come to life in 2024 is truly just so mind-boggling and so fulfilling for me. So let me show you what I'm currently reading, share my thoughts about those books, and then we can get to the unboxing. So I've been really focused on reading books from my TBR, and I think I've been really good at that habit. So let's start with what I'm currently listening to. I'm listening to The Time in Between by Maria Duenas, and this is such a juicy historical fiction. I was updating my two best friends about it, and so much has happened within like the first 3 hours of the book when I initially started it, and I am really loving this story. A blurb on the back says it's a lush travelogue of the 20th century, Madrid, Tetuan, Morocco, and Lisbon. From a terrific opening line to the final page, chapters zip by at a pulsing pace. At first, the audiobook couldn't pull me in, and I tried starting it like 3 different times, but the third time I listened to the first chapter, I got to the second chapter, and that's when I was locked in. The tension, into the drama, and I cannot wait to listen further into this book because it is getting so good. The next book that I'm reading is my current nonfiction in rotation, and this is Ask Me About My Uterus, a quest to make doctors believe in women's pain. I love having a nonfiction in rotation at all times because I just love reading a nonfiction. I love educating myself. I love learning about a niche topic that not necessarily many people read about, and I wanted to learn more about the pain that comes with a period because it's such an under-researched area of science and medicine. Women's pain in general is just always underfunded, under-researched, and this nonfiction I think I picked up because a friend recommended it to me, or maybe Reddit recommended it to me. I can't remember why I picked this one up, but I'm really enjoying it. I've been highlighting it backwards and forwards, and there's so much information that I find so valuable and so insightful, and while I may not particularly resonate with what the specific condition that the author is talking about in a certain chapter, I can still understand it from the perspective of someone who has different types of pain in her body. So this is one that I'm really interested in. I think I'm going to try and read a chapter this week because it's split into 10 chapters and I'm on chapter 3, I believe. Yes, I'm on chapter 3. So I want to read one more chapter in this nonfiction to get a little bit deeper into it. But the book that is consuming my heart and soul, the book that is making me cry and just feel so seen is The 7-Year Slip. So this is a really interesting book because it's a romance and so many people have spoken about it, but it's also a book about grief, particularly grieving an aunt. And I recently lost my aunt in October, and I was reading this book when I lost her, and when I picked this book up, I forgot that this deals with the death of an aunt. And I started crying over like a seemingly innocent line that just really hit close to home. All my friends told me that I should just put it down for a little bit and pick it up when the time feels right. So I gave myself, I think like 2 or 3 weeks, and I thought to myself, if I don't pick this up now, I'm going to avoid this book forever because I'm going to avoid the feelings that it's going to evoke. So I got back into The 7-Year Slip, and it feels like my soul has been mirrored into this story. It is so similar to my relationship with me and my aunt, and it reminds me so much of her because our main character, Clementine's aunt, is so spunky. She's well-traveled. She traveled to Morocco. She traveled to Norway. And I was reading those lines about where she's traveled to, and I thought to myself, my aunt traveled to Morocco and Norway specifically, and my aunt does this and my aunt does that. And I thought, like, this book feels so connected to me and my aunt and our relationship and how we interacted with each other and how we leaned on one another. And it reminded me so much of her in a way that like brings tears to my eyes, but also reminds me of how beautiful our relationship was. So this is a book that's like a little bit challenging to get through, and it seems so innocent because people were like, isn't that a romance book? And I'm like, yeah, it is. The romance is great. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm also really enjoying the way that Clementine discusses her aunt and the way that her presence is so palpable in the apartment that Clementine now lives in, which travels backwards 7 years to meet this man who lives in the apartment. It's like a really complicated plot for a romance book, but basically Clementine's aunt passed away and she gave Clementine her apartment. Her apartment is magical and it has the ability to travel forwards and backwards 7 years. So when Clementine opens up the apartment door, she's not in her apartment, she's in the same apartment 7 years in the past where a man is currently subletting it. And she can't get back to the present, and she's like, well, I guess I'm going to talk to this man because my aunt always said that this apartment was magical and it will give you what you need. And she strikes up a conversation with this man, and they form this really easy type of relationship that feels so effortless. And I'm loving the banter and I'm loving both the main characters, but I'm also deeply loving the conversations about grief and grieving an aunt in particular. It's so interesting to grieve an aunt because some people don't have a close relationship with their aunts, but I did. Having that reflected in this book is really special, and I already know this is going to be a 5-star read. Like, I've highlighted this again forwards and backwards, and I feel so seen by it in a way that I don't see myself in a lot of other books. And I'm highlighting with this cute little blue pen because I like matching my pens to the cover of the book in some way. So yeah, I'm reading this, I'm loving it, and let me show you the box that I got in the mail for the TV screening that I'm going to watch tomorrow because I'm very excited about that as well. So the National Book Foundation invited me to a virtual screening of Interior Chinatown, which is being turned into a show on Hulu. And it's actually a book that one of my friends has been recommending me to read for months upon months. But now I have a real excuse to pick up the book finally because I'm going to watch the first episode tomorrow and I'll share my thoughts about it in this vlog. But they also provided me with a box of goodies to celebrate the premiere of the show. Here it says Interior Chinatown. Instantly I see some fortune cookies and I'm very excited to see what my fortunes are. They also provided me with a copy of Interior Chinatown, which means I have no excuse not to read it. My friend told me it's written like a screenplay, which is so up my alley. She told me like this is the most you book ever, and I think I'm going to really fall in love with it. And it's probably even great to turn it into a TV show because you basically have the script already prepared for you for the TV show. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to turn it into a mini series for Hulu. And then they also provided some notebooks, and I can never have too many notebooks. I really like these because they're very slim, and they also provided some Hulu pens as well. And I'm really excited to watch Interior Chinatown. I love watching a book to movie adaptation without having read the book first because I have nothing to compare it to, so I can enjoy it on its own as its own thing. And then when I eventually read the book, I can now think of the show or the movie when I'm reading the book, and I can compare and contrast, and you'll hear all my thoughts about it tomorrow. I have not vlogged in a little bit, and have I read any more of the 7-Year Slip? Guess. No, I haven't, because I have not been reading. I've been doing so much freelance work that I just don't have the time to sit down and read. But while I was gone, I did watch the first episode of Interior Chinatown, and I got to see Conclave again with my best friend. So Interior Chinatown was so fun to watch. It is so humorous and meta and so deeply unique, where we follow our main character Willis, who is living a mundane life when he gets thrown into a police procedural, and you have to wonder whether this is all his imagination or if it's truly something he is now a part of. And what I really enjoyed was how humorous it was. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I just thought it was so well shot and composed, and I'm really excited to see the rest of the show. It is all out now on Hulu. It's just one season, so you don't have to worry about it getting canceled or anything. You have the whole entire story on Hulu in one season. But yeah, definitely give it a shot if you have read the book and you're curious about the show. I think it is just really fun, and it reminds me a lot of the humor between Peter Parker and Ned from Tom Holland's Spider-Man series. I just think that their humor is so distinct, and you can feel that in Interior Chinatown, so I'm excited to get a little bit deeper into it. And then my friend and I saw Conclave. This is my second time seeing Conclave, and I loved it just as much as I did when I initially saw that movie. I feel like I'm always fighting for my life when I am pitching Conclave to people, because who cares about old men who work for the Sistine Chapel as they are electing a new pope? Who would care about that storyline? Me, apparently, because I saw that movie and I fell in love with it. One, Ralph Fiennes is in it, Stanley Tucci's in it. It's beautifully shot with this gorgeous coloring that reminds me of like a Baroque painting come to life, but also it reminds me a lot of Game of Thrones. If you are a fan of the political drama of Game of Thrones and like House of the Dragon, and you love the drama of people just gossiping, you will love Conclave, because it is literally just that. It is about a group of cardinals who come together for a conclave after the Pope dies, and a conclave is when these cardinals come together from all around the world to vote on the next Pope. So I previously thought the Pope was like adjacent to a saint, where they're doing these really important things and they are healing people, but apparently the Pope is kind of like a presidency. It's a lifetime appointment, but they are elected to become Pope. So this whole entire movie follows this sequestering of this conclave as these cardinals are together to vote on the next Pope, and there are a couple people who want to become Pope, and there are a couple people that are being voted to become Pope but don't necessarily want it. And as this is unfolding, because it takes a lot of days for them to come to a majority agreement, we see the secrets of these people come to the surface, and we see the people who want to become Pope the most actually be the people who should not become Pope. And yes, it's a movie about old men gossiping, but it's like so much more than that. It is a movie that will emit so many gasps from the audience, and I think it's a really fun, tension-filled film that is totally worth your time if that sounds up your alley. And I do think it can win Best Adapted Screenplay, and I also think it might even win Best Cinematography. I just think it's so gorgeous. Every single shot left me in awe because it was so beautifully composed, and again, the coloring is stunning. I think it's just a stunning film overall. And while I was not vlogging and was not reading, I got a couple things in the mail, and I also got something from Target, so I wanted to show them to you. First, let me show you what I got at Target. The Target checkout lines really get me because I love a magazine, and I specifically love a Life magazine. So I got myself the Lord of the Rings 20th anniversary Life magazine. Like, of course I'm gonna get it. And look what they put on the first page. They know what we want. We just want Legolas. We all want Legolas. He was my first crush. Yeah, guys. Oh my god. I'm so excited to read this. I always bring a Life magazine to the beach during the summer to read, and this is definitely coming with me to the beach this next summer because I want to just sit down and read more about the film and how it was created, because it's truly a feat of magic. And what an iconic shot. I'm so happy with this. The Target checkout line got me again, and I bought another Life magazine. Who's surprised? Another thing that I got from Pango Books is a nonfiction that I listened to on audiobook, and I loved it so much that I knew I had to add it to my collection because I'm trying to create a larger nonfiction collection, because to me it's like my own educational resource that I can always tap into. So I got myself The Road to Jonestown, Jim Jones and the People's Temple. And you can hear like the exhaustion in my voice when I talk about this nonfiction, because I previously didn't know anything about Jonestown and I was just curious, and I decided to go onto Reddit, find a nonfiction to read, and then I listened to it and it completely changed my life. Let me make it a little bit brighter. This nonfiction completely changed my life. One, because it was 18 hours long, so it's a very exhaustive nonfiction about Jim Jones from his childhood all the way up to the Jonestown massacre. But the way that they go into detail in this book about the crimes that he committed and the ways that he won people over is absolutely fascinating, not only on a Jim Jones level but from a higher level, because it helps you understand how a leader wins over a group of people. Because at the end of the day, he's a politician. He may not have been running for office, but he was a politician in the eyes of the people who were following him. He promised a lot of things to them, and he was able to win over a group of people very quickly because he acted in a way similar to that of a politician. I found this nonfiction to be one of the most impressive nonfictions I've ever read. It is exhaustive. It is horrifying to listen to. There are multiple times where I've paused this audiobook and just had to like recenter myself because I cannot believe the actions that this man committed. He's truly a heinous person, and I kind of wish that they like crossed out his face on the cover because he does not deserve to be on this cover. And they also have photos from the Jonestown massacre, which I obviously didn't see because I listened to it initially on audiobook, but it is so horrifying and disgusting. Congrats to this man for writing this nonfiction. I know it must have been exhausting. I know it must have been incredibly tiring to go through so many different interviews and videos and writings in order to compose such a well-rounded nonfiction, but I'm really happy that I have it now to add to my shelf. He also has a nonfiction about Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde are wild. Whenever a couple says like, I'm Bonnie and you're Clyde, I'm like, the historical implications of saying that is wild to me. Like, you do not know who Bonnie and Clyde really were then. And he also has a nonfiction about Charles Manson. I know that nonfiction would be just as exhausting to listen to as this one, but you know I have it on my TBR, right? Like, it's on my TBR already. And then I also got a new hobby in the mail, and it is a cross-stitch kit. I've seen this on Etsy for months upon months, and I held myself back from getting it, but I decided to get it because I want a more hands-on activity besides like reading and watercoloring, because I want something that I can like use my mind to create. And I don't do knitting and I don't do crochet, so I thought the next best thing I can do is cross stitch. And this is a little bread cross stitch. This comes with the pattern, the hoop, and also the strings as well. I don't know how to cross stitch at all, and I'm really scared I'm going to mess this up because it's a lot of being very precise with your work, and I'm afraid I'm going to somehow mess up following the instructions, but I won't know until I try. So I got this, and maybe this will become a new hobby that I love, and maybe when I get better at it I could even listen to audiobooks while I cross stitch. So if you have any cross stitching tips or YouTube videos or channels that you would highly recommend, please put them down below, because I do want to get into this, but I am so scared to because I don't even know where to start. I read 25 pages more of the 7-Year Slip, and I feel like I'm overthinking the way that time works in this novel, because our main character Clementine occasionally goes 7 years to the past when she enters her apartment, and that's when she meets Ewan. I feel like I'm saying his name wrong. I'm pronouncing it like Ewan McGregor, but I have no idea how to pronounce his name because it's Iwan, and I think a friend said it's Ewan, but I feel like that's incorrect. So I've been calling him Ewan, so stick with me here. I've been overthinking the way that time works because every time Clementine goes to the past to interact with Ewan, I keep wondering if those interactions are going to influence who he is as a person in the present day, or if I'm just overthinking the entire concept of time in this novel, because I feel like it's not that deep. But every time time is introduced into a novel or a movie, it's never done correctly, because the way that people conceptualize time is not the way that time actually works, and the way that time actually works is just like too complicated to put into a movie or put into a book. So I feel like her interactions in the past aren't going to influence Ewan in the present, but I just finished a scene from the past, so I'm wondering if when we go to the present, he's gonna be a little bit different because of that interaction. I have no idea, I'm overthinking it, but I love Clementine and Ewan. I think that their banter is so cute. I love their romance and the tension that they have, and I'm only halfway through, so we know it's gonna ramp up even more, and I'm so excited for that. I have 3 things to update you on. I watched Gladiator II, I finished the 7-Year Slip, and I got some really fun hats in the mail from one of my friends who owns an amazing store. So let's start with Gladiator. I saw it after going to the Met, and I actually didn't film like going to the cinema and going to see Gladiator because I was so distracted, and we got there like 15 minutes before the movie was gonna begin, so I was a little bit frazzled, but I gave Gladiator 2.5 stars. I have never seen a movie that I was so excited for disappoint me so much, and Gladiator 2 really took the cake for me. I wrote like an entire like mini review about it on my Instagram. If you want to check it out, I'll be sure to link it down below. But the gist of my review is that it felt like this movie was a cash grab. They found the biggest stars in Hollywood, Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, Joseph Quinn, and they put them all into a movie knowing that their fan bases are going to watch the movie whether or not it is good. And this movie felt so underdeveloped, so cluttered, and it felt like they just took the entire plot of Gladiator 1 and recycled it. It's not fun to watch a series that feels beat for beat exactly like the first movie, and it also isn't fun to watch a movie where every single character felt so flat, underdeveloped. I felt like I didn't know Pedro Pascal's character. I felt like I knew Denzel Washington's character, and that's why he shined the most in the movie. 1, because he's one of the greatest actors of all time, but 2, his character had motivations, he had a personality, and I really enjoyed seeing him on screen. But Pedro Pascal's character and Joseph Quinn felt so flat. Joseph Quinn's character felt like he was mimicking every move and action of Commodus's character in Gladiator I, and he didn't feel like a compelling villain. It felt so trite and overused, and it didn't feel compelling to me to see him as a villain. I wasn't afraid of him. I wasn't intimidated. I felt like he was just a laughingstock, and it didn't feel like a true villain because he felt so outlandish and out of place in this movie that felt very serious. And Paul Mescal's character could have been interesting if he wasn't just like a placeholder for Maximus in the first movie. It felt like he had the same exact personality. It felt like he was going down the same road as Maximus, and I just was not compelled by his character, but I do think that Paul Mescal did a fantastic job being a gladiator. The physicality of the entire movie is really impressive. I enjoyed the fights in the arena, but overall, this story just felt like a cash grab. It felt like Ridley Scott just wanted to make another Gladiator II movie. He didn't care about the script. He didn't care about the characters. He just wanted to make a quick buck with some really fun actors, and that's what he did. The 2 stars are literally for Denzel Washington and the naval battle that happened in the Coliseum, because that one really made me excited, but other than that, I was not impressed by this movie. I would never rewatch it again. If I wanted to rewatch this movie, I would simply go to TikTok to rewatch Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal edits, because that was the only thing that left me compelled and happy to see this movie. Then I finished The 7-Year Slip. I didn't get a lot of b-roll of me reading this book because I buckled down and finished this book in one sitting. It did take me a while to get through, but it's a true 5-star read, mostly because I feel like my entire soul is in this novel, from the way that it explores a woman's relationship to her aunt who had such a big place in her heart, and the way that it explored grief felt so personal and felt so much like a mirror to my own grief. I loved the banter between Clementine and Iwin, and I loved their relationship and how they wanted to see each other grow, and I also loved seeing Clementine come to terms with the fact that everyone in your life changes and they grow and they become different and they love new things and hate old things, and everyone evolves as a person throughout time, because the people you love may go through phases, they may go through highs and lows, and if you choose to actively love them during every single chapter of their life, then you truly love a person. And I really loved that exploration, and I thought this novel was just so beautifully written. I thought the explorations of grief were so realistic and so important because it felt just like how I felt, and there were so many aspects of this novel that, one, reminded me of my own work in progress. There are a lot of aspects that are in my work in progress and another work in progress that I'm currently plotting, and I was like, oh my god, like this feels so similar to my ideas. And I also love the fact that Clementine was so close to her aunt, and they also loved Vincent van Gogh because I love Vincent van Gogh. Everyone knows I love Vincent van Gogh. So having that aspect just kind of thrown in made it feel so much more personal to me, and I just connected with it on all levels. And while it did take me such a long amount of time to get through it, I'm really grateful for the journey that I went on. I've never really read a novel about grief while I'm actively grieving, and a lot of people may avoid that, but for me, this one felt cathartic in a way, and it made me feel so much more less alone, because my mom and my dad don't have the relationship that I had with my aunt, so my grief is very unique to me, and to have it reflected in a novel was so special. So I'll always keep this book near and dear to my heart. I'm always going to recommend it because it's a beautifully written novel, and I really enjoy the fact that this is marketed as a romance, but it feels more lit fic. It feels more like Happy Place anyway, where there's a romance at the heart of it, but there's so much more to explore in this story, and I love stories like that. So if you have any books that are similar to Happy Place and The 7-Year Slip, please recommend them down below, because I really am enjoying this trend of these romance novels exploring so much more about people's lives and their journeys and the complexities of being an adult and everything that comes along with that. So I'm really happy I finished this. Even just like thinking about it makes me want to cry because it means so much to me and I'm really grateful for it. So I really do have to thank the girls on Instagram for constantly posting about this book because it really convinced me to pick it up, and without them I probably would have never bought myself a copy of this book. So I'm really thankful to everyone I follow on Bookstagram. But before we wrap up this vlog, let me show you some things that I got in the mail from my friend who runs the store Rather Keen. He sells a bunch of bookish merch and it's so cute. He has tote bags, he has hats, he has pins, he has earrings, and he has these really cool collections of dad hats, and he sent me over 3 dad hats to add to my collection. So the first one that we have here is inspired by the 1992 Cannes Film Festival hat that people wore to the film festival, and I recently went to my first ever film festival, but this is like the ultimate Olivia hat, where it's a reference to my love for cinema and it's very subtle about it. I think it's really cute. I also got a hat that says Bookshop Cat in a nice beige color, which I think is super cute. And speaking of bookish hats, he has a Vamos a la Biblioteca hat, which is a meme that just kind of occurred from Spanish class all over America, where it's like people took Spanish classes but the only phrase that they remember was Vamos a la Biblioteca, which I think is funny, which means let's go to the library. So that is now on a hat, which I think is a really fun meme for people who live in America, because I don't know why that became a meme, but it's so funny that it like everyone knows that phrase now. They're really high quality, they're embroidered, and they have an adjustable back to it as well. So thank you so much to Rather Keen. I'm going to link his store down below so you can check out all his other merch that he sells, and I'm always so grateful for my friends for gifting me some of their art. And I'm going to leave this vlog off here. I feel like I've been filming this vlog for a while now, and I'm really happy to have it come to a close now that I've finished a 7-year slip. But let me know if there are any other things that you would like to see in future vlogs. I really want to do more like weeks in my life. Even though I work from home and I'm not really going out a lot, there's not a lot to show. I do want to capture like everyday life, and I would love to know what you would like to see in the future because I really love Emmy's vlogs on YouTube. They're such comforts to me, and I love how she just vlogs her everyday life, and they're usually very chatty, and I'm wondering if there are any things that you would like me to chat about, and let me know if there are any other aspects of like a week in my life vlog that you would like to see in future vlogs, because I would love to take your ideas into account. If you want to follow me anywhere else, I'm very active over on Instagram and TikTok. I also have a Threads account. All my links will be down below if you want to follow me anywhere else. And if you've stayed this far in the video, leave a green heart emoji so we can see who stays for the longest. If you do, I really do appreciate it. I have no idea how long this vlog is going to be, so it might be a really long vlog that you stayed to the end for, and if you did, thank you so much, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!